Hey, my name is Chad. This video we are going to do two things. One, talk about the match that I had this last Saturday, and I'm going to go ahead and start loading up some ammo and hopefully get it out to test today for my next match this coming Sunday. So I'm going to have 3 weekends where I do a match Saturday, then the following weekend Sunday, then the following weekend on Saturday. This was the first one of the 3 and my first attempt at like a bigger more professional type PRS match. It was up south of Chickasha, Oklahoma, a place called Ninnekah, or near a place called Ninnekah. The range is called Fouled Boar. And let me tell you, first off, it is a really, really cool place. Like, it is set up super professional. It's kind of like there's stages set up, and this time they let us drive to them. I don't know if that's a normal thing or if you usually have to walk from stage to stage. But about the time that we were getting there and getting signed up, it just started raining, and it was right below freezing with the wind chill, and it was just overall miserable the entire day. So it started out, it was going to be 8 stages. As we were having the initial stage brief, they decided to cut 2 of them off, and one of them's like up on a tower, and the wind up there is even more intense than down on the ground. So they decided to cut that one and one other. And then before we even got started on the first stage, the rain picked up even harder, and we decided to cut another one. So we only ended up doing 5 out of the initial 8 stages that were set up. These were all set up really nice. Like, there's the shooting position, and then the targets, they were all nicely painted. I believe they were orange this time. And you can get set up, see the targets, and then move to the next stage, see the targets. It was all very well done. So far as that, I really like that part of it. I just really, really don't like being cold. And this is my first time being like under an intense rain. So I did not set up this camera and film anything extra. I tried to use my scope cam where I could, but sometimes I'd forget to turn it on. And then when I'd remember to turn it on, I'd sometimes forget to turn it off. So things didn't go well there. Overall, I did, for me, quite poorly. Like, I was not very pleased with myself. Out of the maximum, I only got like 12 hits for the whole stage, I think. 12 to 14 maybe. It was just not a very good day for me. I was extremely cold right at the beginning, and my hands were miserable. Looking through my scope, it was just not a good day at all. Overall, I took about 40 shots out of the maximum 50. 10 for each stage. That put me at about a 30% hit rate, which is well under what I am capable of, where I'm usually in the 60 to 70% is where I typically like to be. If I can do a little better, obviously that's preferred. So I only scored maybe 25% of the maximum score that was possible. So I did overall very, very poorly. We're just going to start there. To give you an idea, this is my dope card from the helicopter stage, and you can see I was barely able to get the numbers written on it, and even then they were starting to smear off pretty easily, and I could barely make them out. But figured I'd save that and show you guys. It was the toughest conditions that I possibly could have had a match in. I think, I don't know, I think if it was snowing, it might have been a little more miserable, but really depends on the temperature. It was a cold wind blowing, cold rain, and nothing felt good. I was soaked head to toe, and I stayed wet the entire day. So what I've decided I'm going to do is I need to get my next batch of ammo loaded up, and I really want to go test it because I noticed some things during the match, and I'd like to kind of verify them. If you paid attention to last week's video when I was trying to verify my ammo, I got it all loaded up good, got speeds good, thought I got a pretty decent 0. I did go ahead and like adjust back to the middle of the adjustment that I made, which may have been a mistake. And I'll tell you about that as we go along. So by the time I got out to see if I was hitting out at distance, I could not see the targets. It was so windy, I could not hear the targets. I just didn't know what was going on out at 500 yards. So this time I'm going to load up a few more rounds of the next box of ammo that I want to get worked through. And then we're going to try to get out today and just check at 500 yards. We got a lot of rain over the weekend, but I think with the wind and sun that we had on Sunday and so far today, I should be able to get down the road and at least get to 500 yards and check this before my next match on Sunday. I'm just going to start priming a couple cases, and while I do that, I'll tell you about some of these stages that we had here. So the first one, it was called a pole dancer, and it was like some telephone poles. They were all set up at a staggered height, so you had one you're kind of down on both knees, one where you're down on one knee, one you're standing, and then back down the other side. And 2 targets out at a berm about 570 yards away. And you're supposed to engage one at the big target and then one at the small target, and then move to the next position and go big, small, move to the next position, big, small. That one, I managed to get about 3 hits, I believe. And I think the only reason that is because it was still early in the day and I was not completely soaked all the way through and entirely cold. So then we go over to the next stage, which was a tire stage. And this is where things started going really, really wrong for me. The tires were set up really cool. Like in the middle of the tires, they've got coverings over them. So when your brass ejects, it doesn't fall down to the bottom of the tire. It just sits on this top piece and easy to grab, pick up, and get people cleared out and the next shooter up. Really cool idea. I like that a lot. But the targets were surrounding a truck. Well, as I was starting to go on this one, I got a phone call right at the same time. Like almost immediately when the buzzer went off, I got a phone call. And it was Bluetooth to my hearing protection. And I kept hearing incoming call, incoming call, incoming call. And it was very loud and annoying. But my hands were full. I couldn't really do anything to shut it off. So it was really annoying, and I just dealt with it until the caller gave up, and it was a spam call anyway, so I don't even answer those. But for some reason, right after the call, I started having like an interference sound, like that squawk when you get like 2 speakers or 2 electronics too close to each other and they interfere with whatever frequency they're on. I was having that in my left ear super, super loud. And I don't know if it was like the water was starting to affect it. I don't really know. I'm considering testing some different ear pro because that was really, really miserable. And it really affected my concentration. I noticed as I was going through the footage from my scope cam that the first target that I engaged was the wrong. I was shooting at the white targets on a different car, and then when I moved to the second position, I got onto the right vehicle. So I was just very flustered. That phone call kind of threw my mental game out of whack, and then that buzzing in my ear just really, really messed things up for me. And I was just not able to fully recover and get into a good position where I could get good hits. I scored 0 on that stage. I will say somebody had, I heard somebody say something like, "You're off to the left," and I only heard left, so I thought they said you need to be correct more to the left or something. Whatever they said, I overcorrected the opposite way, and that was just because I couldn't hear them clearly from all the squawking in my ear. So I just put myself more off the target, and at the end of the stage, that person, they were like, "Well, didn't you hear me tell you blah, blah, blah?" And I was like, "Oh no, I heard the complete actual opposite of what you said." So that one kind of flustered me up, and I was just very disappointed with myself there. Then we get in our vehicles. Thankfully, they let us drive around. There was not very many people there because it was just a miserable day. So we drive up the hill, and the next one, I mean, it was really cool. You get to shoot out of a helicopter and start the stage, get set up, lay prone, kind of a modified prone position inside the helicopter passenger bay. And you were shooting a troop line, 480 to 505, 550, 570, 597, and one shot on each, tracking it out. And then test your limits little rack set up at about 635. Now these targets are all considerably smaller than what we shoot down here at our local matches. They're definitely more of a pro level type of setup here. What I noticed is I was consistently, if I was aiming at the center of the target, I was consistently off to the top right of it. So what I was starting to do is aim at the bottom left of the target, and I started to get some hits. So that tells me, I think my adjustment when I moved my zero back up to the middle of where I had adjusted before, I overcorrected, or there was just something going on there. So I need to double check where I've got my scope set right now, and especially check it out at distance, because 100 yards and 500 yards, quite a bit different. As I go through that stage and I'm trying to, mentally correct, I started getting a couple hits on the way out. I think I got total 3 or 4 hits. I wasn't 100% sure. And I mean, everybody was, like I said, pretty miserable with the conditions of the day. I just ran back to my truck and wrote down 3 or 4 on the piece of paper. And that one was fun because I actually got to go first on it. So I had to break it in, let everybody know what the low score of the day was going to be. And then everybody went through and did quite a bit better than me, but I'm not as worried about my score this time because I really don't do good when I see a place for the first time. Everything to me happens in images in my head. So I have to see something and set it in my head as a picture and play it out as a movie. And then going forward, I'll already be comfortable with it. And like right now, I can close my eyes and I can walk through every one of the stages that we had. But until I get that comfortable with the place, I'm just fumbling through it. And my first time anywhere is usually a disaster. And then I get comfortable and get a little more confident. So then we move over to one that they call the International. It's just an old, like an old semi truck with like the front half of the hood cut off. So you only had about, 2 feet or so of the front hood to set up on, and then shoot from the cab area from the driver's side door. And I guess we're supposed to open the passenger door, but the wind kept blowing it closed. So we were setting up on the hood of the passenger side, or of the driver's side of that vehicle. And at this point, this is when something else weird started happening. That ringing in my ear has been persistent now for the whole match after that second stage. Like, my ear pro has just been ringing at me constantly, and that's been extremely annoying. But I was just dealing with it, ignoring it as I could. And this one off the International, there was 2 targets at about 570, a big target, and then a little smaller one right next to it. You go down on the hood, shoot the big one, then the small one, move up on the top of the cab, big one, small one, back down, big one, small one, go through that 5 times for 10 total shots. I got off to a decent start. I got a couple hits in, down on the top, bottom, then up at the top, and then back down at the bottom. Then when I moved back up to the top, that's where apparently, as the rain has been collecting on my bag, it kind of got to where it turned all the sand inside of it hard. So like, imagine, packing a sandcastle. That's what my bag turned into at this point. So I plopped it down and it just started slipping all over the top, and it was just not staying put at all. So I got a little bit of a position built and tried to take a couple shots, but I was just not having a very solid shooting position there. And I just kind of piddled around, shot a few more, but I only got 2 or 3 hits on that stage. I marked it down on my paper as 2, but I might have got 3. I don't even remember at this point. In between each stage, I was so miserable with my hands freezing so bad. I was just ready, trying to get back to my truck and get my hands into warm gloves and trying to warm up as much as I could, but it was not going very well. Okay, then we skipped past a couple of the stages that had been set up. Like one of them was a tower where you go up on like a second story tower, and there would have been a troop line, 625, 750, and 1042 that you shoot off of a platform up on here. You go near, middle, far, middle, near, and that one would have been cool, but I walked up there just to see what it was like, and you could definitely tell the wind was blowing quite a bit more up there. Not a fun place to be. So we moved to what was going to end up being the last stage for our match, and it was called Hit the Pipe. So it's kind of like two metal pipes welded together, and you have to start down on the middle one, or on the lower one, take your 2 shots, move up to the higher one, take your 2 shots, move over, down on the lower, take your 2 shots, up to the higher, take your 2 shots down. So you're kind of going like a zigzag, working your way down the pipe. And at least at this point, I was aware of what all the problems were, and I grabbed my other bag that I had left inside my truck, and it was definitely dry, and the sand inside of it was functioning as it should be. So I waited until right before my time to go, and at that point grabbed it, ran out, and ran through the stage, and I was at least able to get slightly more stable. I mean, at this point, I'm shivering so much and just shaking, trying to stay a little bit warm, that I don't know. I was just very, very miserable with the whole experience from a physical perspective. I just did not have a good time. But I got 3 or 4 hits there, and I timed out on my very last shot. So that was another one though, like the silhouette targets there, instead of aiming right in the middle, I'm down on the bottom edge of one corner of it. And if I forgot that, I was getting misses, but then I would remember and try to correct. So I mean, after some of the guys that were like obviously very, very good, and they go there quite a bit, much more comfortable with the place, and much more experienced than I am. You know, one of them was like, man, like you were doing good on your trigger presses. Like when you were missing, you were grouping your misses right together. You're just a little bit off the target most of the time. I was like, okay, that makes sense. I'm pretty sure I'm still dealing with getting zeroed correctly and trying to set up this new ammo. I really got to check my zero again. Something tells me that I got myself a little bit off, which it's easy to do when I'm trying to do too many things at once. So if you know anything about me, you know that I definitely try to do too many things at one time. Hey, if you're excited that we got our daylight savings time and we got our extra hour at the end of the day, go ahead and get subscribed, because I'm on team. Leave the clocks here. Let's do this. No more changes after this week. That's what I'm saying. We need to stay here. But if you like that, go ahead and get subscribed. If you're on the other side, go ahead and get subscribed. I would just be happy with having the same time all year. None of this changing. It's ridiculous. So we're down here, and I did a quick, like super quick. I'm probably going to just run down and set up a flashlight here in a second, but I think I can get a couple shots off. Now, I'm going to take a few with all the settings the same. I still have like one of my mags where I didn't get off all the shots on a stage. I've got a couple left in here. I just want to shoot at one of my targets here right about 500 yards and see what it is happening. It's telling me like 2.35 on the elevation. My wind is maybe a tenth to the left, so I'm going to see what happens right now. I just don't know where I'm hitting. I think I might be hitting a little high. Hopefully I can load up a few of what I just loaded and see where that's going to hit as well. So we're just going to kind of go with this and see what happens here. I really am kind of frustrated with how some of the stages went at this last match. So to me, that sounded like that hit dirt. Aim at the bottom of the target. Yeah, that's almost 2/10 different, or 4/10 difference. Okay, so I think I was about 4/10 high. I clicked down from a 2.4 to 2.0, and I think I might have hit just right smack in the middle of that target. So I'm going to try one more, and then I'm going to go down there and look at the target and set up a flashlight. So judging from this, I think I can definitely tell why I was having to remember to aim at the bottom of the targets each time. Before that match, I did not get a chance to come out and verify the data that I had out here at distance. So I thought my zero was good. Now, I did adjust my zero at 100, and then I thought I over adjusted it low, and I kind of came up a little bit, and I didn't actually verify anything after that. So that might have been on me, but honestly, with the way the conditions were, the rain, the cold, the wind, I was so miserable. I just wanted to get accustomed with how the match ran at that place and kind of get a idea of how the layout was. It is a really cool place. I'm definitely going back. I think the next match there is going to be the first Saturday of April, I believe. So I'm planning to attend that one, and we're going to do a little more testing here before it gets too awful dark. But I think that's going to do it for this video. So next match is coming up Sunday. That's going to be my local match that I've been doing now for the last year. And then next Saturday, I'm going to have another one of these regional PRS matches. That's going to be at Clinton, another new location for me. The only thing to worry about this time of year is the storms. I really do think that we're out of the cold. I'm kicking myself for a couple weeks ago when I was all excited and out here in short sleeve shirt and no jacket on and talking about how we were finally out of the cold. And then we had a week of 70 degrees, one single day of freezing temperatures and rain. And then the next day it was back to 70. And that one single freezing day was the day I had a match on. So sometimes you don't tempt fate, and you definitely don't tempt Oklahoma weather, because as soon as you want it to be nice, it's going to jump out and whip you pretty good. Well, that's going to do it for this video. Thank you for hanging out with me for a few minutes while we reviewed the last match that was honestly quite terrible for me, but next month I think we're going to do a lot better there, and I intend to do more testing and get more prepared for it. I just do too much and I run out of time. Make sure and check in next week. We'll find out how this upcoming match goes, see if I figure out where I'm off on my zero and or my Kestrel adjustments. So we'll get that tuned in, and I will get this all smoothed out. I'm going to get hitting targets here again pretty quick. I had a totally off day on this last match, but I'm going to come back stronger and get back to whooping on some people. So that's the plan anyways. Thank you very much for hanging out with me for a few minutes. I do hope you have a great rest of your day and a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye.